In the world of media, there are few things that are stronger in storytelling than talking about the bonds of family, and there are few companies who really focus on that element more than Disney. From the likes of Mufasa and Maurice in the beginning of the Disney Renaissance, to today's Alma and Min Lee, there's little to no doubt that when it comes to the idea of family, Disney's bread and butter is the focus on those bonds. And yet, there's one movie that I always felt had a different take on things and shows that not only can a family be quite different from the rest, but sometimes things do need to change. Trust me when I say this might be a different kind of episode this week as we celebrate the 20th anniversary of Lilo and Stitch. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, I am your ever-friendly Pokeprof, and welcome back to Fascinating Fiction. So now that I've caused everyone's hair to turn a bit wider at the realization that this movie is almost old enough to drink now, you're all probably wondering what exactly I mean about this being a different kind of episode. Well, that's because we're going to be getting into somewhat of a more serious topic here when it comes to family. While Stitch and his friends will be playing a part, as the whole film does lead up to the forming of a new family in the end, I'm actually wanting to focus on the human aspect of the film, one that we so rarely get to see even in modern films today, that of a broken family, and the fact that sometimes the right choice isn't the family itself. The plot of the movie, when not involving Stitch and the rest of the aliens, is something that isn't exactly new to films. Which is to say, the idea that a single parent is in charge of a child, and there's a threat of them being taken away because the parent is seen as incapable. The movie already throws a twist at us because instead of it being a single parent, it's actually Lilo's older sister Nani who's the one that has to be responsible and take care of her. And this instantly creates a much different dynamic. Even with the very visible age difference between the two characters, it's clear the pair were raised as sisters, and as just about anyone with a brother or sister can tell you, it's not easy to take orders or rules set down by someone who you normally see as an equal. It goes without mention that this isn't even taken in Lilo's own personality into account. This is a girl that, let's be entirely honest, probably needs a lot more help than the movie was really wanting to delve into. While it's important to keep in mind that Lilo is only 6 in the film, and some of what she does can be explained away as her simply being a child, there are distinct moments where it's clear that Lilo thinks differently and requires different attention than other girls her age. Some might call this simply her being quirky, but I think this is one of the first Disney characters, if not characters in animation, to really show that they're on the spectrum. And as someone who's a high-functioning autistic myself, let me tell you that it's not exactly easy to work within a family that's whole, much less one that's been broken like Lilo's has. Which then brings us to the main crux of the film, and one that I don't think I've really seen handled as well in any others. Nani's capability of being a caretaker to Lilo, or lack thereof. From the moment that we focus in on our human cast, we're shown just how high-strung and in over her head Nami is. From things like leaving food on the oven and the general state of the house, it's clear that she's overburdened with taking care of her little sister. Now, this is through no fault of Nami's own, but she's a young woman who's not even 20 when the movie takes place, who's having to work a full-time job while caring for her kid sister, on top of all the other things like taxes, paying the bills, and taking care of the house. That's hard for some people in their 30s to do on their own today, much less someone Nami's age. But that brings us to the thing I was wanting to talk about the most here, which was the point of view of the social worker in this film, also known as the big buff man himself, Cobra Bubbles. As I've said before, the idea of a child being taken away from an incapable parent is nothing new in movies, but in almost every other medium that it's used, the social workers are usually portrayed as villains. They're removing the kids from their rightful parents, and it's just circumstance that's causing the reasons for the removal in the first place, not that the parents are actually bad. Which is what actually makes Lilo and Stitch interesting. While yes, they do have the issues of circumstance in the movie that eventually cause the kid to be taken away, it's shown from the very start just how tapped Nami is. She loves Lilo, but it's clear that she's not capable of doing this job on her own. And what's more is how Bubbles is shown in the movie itself. While he does have this big, hulking, I'm going to be dangerous threat aspect to him, it's this moment of the film that really strikes me more than anything else.
I know you're trying, Nani, but you need to think about what's best for Lilo.
This scene, as small as it is, and as subtle as it is, may not say much to most, but it's something that I'm wanting to highlight regardless. More than anything, it's this particular moment that shows what Bubbles' priorities are. He's not just going and removing Lilo from Nami's care because he's trying to be mean, because it gives him pleasure, or even because he's the villain of the movie. He's doing it because he honestly believes is the right thing to do. For the safety and emotional growth of Lilo, it would be better away from her sister. And he's not wrong. Now, I'm not saying that it wouldn't cause any issues. Lilo and Nami love each other, that much is clear. The heartbreaking rendition of Alola Oi being used as a goodbye piece is so powerful a scene because the audience and characters both really believe that Lilo's going to be taken away, and we know how much harm that's going to be doing to Nami. But take a moment, if you will, and review what we've seen in the movie. Think about how things like the kitchen were left in the state it was, with food left cooking while Nami was at work. Think about how Lilo is left on her own for hours on end, even going to and from different places in town, because Nami couldn't look after her. Think of all the issues that Lilo has because she doesn't have anyone to turn to for her problems other than Nami, who she still sees more as a sister than a parental figure. Ask yourself then, do you think this is a safe situation for a child? Do you think it would be better to leave her in a place where she can't be properly cared for just because someone loves her? If I'm entirely honest, I'd personally have to say no. Don't get me wrong, love counts for a lot, more so than most things. But there are going to be people out there that are either not ready or even incapable of being a parent. This moment with Bubbles shows us that he knows this better than most. He knows that Nami loves Lilo, but he also firmly believes that Nami can't support her, not like she should, all on her own. This is what makes the themes of family, or Ohana in the movie, hit so strongly, because at this point, Nami realizes this as well. She'll still fight and scream and do anything she can to try and make things better for her sister, but deep down she knows that she can't take care of Lilo. Then we get to the point where the alien adventures of Stitch actually hit into the plot of Lilo and Nami, where a lot of what the human cast has gone through turns out to all be because of Jumba and Peakley trying to get Stitch back. What follows after they save Lilo being taken into space is honestly the weakest part of the entire film. Since after they were able to ensure that Stitch stays with Lilo and Nami, now it's suddenly okay for the sisters to stay together. Part of this does come from the fact that Bubbles now knows that half the stuff he was dealing with was because of aliens, but it's only the fact that Jumba, Peakley, Nami's crush David, and even Bubbles himself becoming part of Nami's family do things change. It is something that kind of just glossed over, but we do get to see pictures showing the passage of time that Bubbles becomes sort of an uncle of some kind to Lilo. The story of Lilo and Stitch is very much a story about family, and the whole point of Stitch finding one and helping out a pair of sisters can't be understated. But the real feeling of what Nami's going through, about what Bubbles has to do, is something that I don't really see get much focus from a lot of the audience. It's a small but powerful moment that really gives a weight to the film that I don't think it would have, and does a wonderful job to show that even people like Bubbles here can care about people even if they're forced to do something for the betterment of all. I'm curious though, did you get the same feeling here from the situation that I did? Or do you think the story of Stitch, of him finding family and becoming good, is overall better? Regardless, I hope I've done a good job to entertain you, and I'll do my best to do so again in the future. Hopefully you'll follow along with my content by subscribing and doing all the other things that gives us YouTubers life. But until next time, stay frosty.